My wife lied about having a miscarriage and instead had an abortion. I don't know what to do now. By elated, my wife and I have been married for 3 years, and for the past year we have been trying for a child. We both wanted to have children. And after we got married, we decided to first buy a house and get things in order financially before having children. Last year, we both mutually agreed that we were in the right place to try for a child. In fact, it was my wife who put the idea forward. A little over 8 months ago, my wife found out she was 6 weeks pregnant with our first child. I was elated. I had always wanted to be a father, and it seemed like something I never thought was possible was coming true. My wife and I began buying parenting books, planning a nursery, just doing all the stuff first-time parents do. I had never been happier at this moment. Several weeks later, I had to fly out of the country for a work conference. I was gone for about 8 days. Whilst I was abroad, my wife called. She was crying and told me she had a miscarriage. She was 18 weeks pregnant at this point. I flew back home immediately and told work that I had a family emergency. I was devastated with the news, but I never properly mourned, as I felt I had to be emotionally strong for my wife, who was a wreck. This was a tough period for both of us, but I thought we had come out stronger as a couple. I knew I had to give my wife some time and space before we could approach the subject again, especially with this being, what I thought, her first miscarriage. However, a week ago, a friend of my wife's called and told me she had something important to tell me. Apparently, my wife had scheduled an abortion whilst I was away at a conference. My wife's reasoning being that she wasn't ready to be a parent. My wife also said didn't want me to know about the abortion because I was so excited to be a parent, and she didn't want to hurt me. At first, I didn't believe this to be true, but after confronting my wife, she told me that yes, she had in fact aborted our child. I'm in shock right now. I'm hurt, angry, and upset. I just don't understand why she didn't just speak to me about it. Maybe we could have talked this through, but right now I'm so mad that she went behind my back and led me to believe she lost our child. I understand that my wife is the one carrying the child, and at the end has the right to make any decision she wants, but why lie about the whole situation? I don't know whether to carry on with the relationship or not. I love my wife, but this is a huge betrayal to me, and I can't even look at her right now. She's currently crying and begging me to forgive her. I've just gone down to the spare bedroom and locked myself inside. Please, someone just tell me what to do. Edit. I did not expect this post to blow up like this. My emotions are all over the place, and I'm a mess right now. But once everything is sorted, I will try and update you on the situation. Thank you for your support. Edit 2. Update post.
UTM_name=IOSSMF.
Top comment by Monkey_McDermott 1872 days ago. Assuming you don't walk out of the guest room and immediately file for divorce, personal, and couples therapy. She's going to need to work through why she felt the need to lie, and why she'd try for a child when she's not ready to have one. You're going to need to work through your feelings of betrayal so you can trust anyone you might be in a relationship with. Again, you both are going to need to work through what needs to be done to move forward, or if moving forward is even possible.
Someone responds to top comment by Decker Moon Boots 1872 days ago. I think it's worth mentioning the timing. 12 weeks is the end of the first trimester, and she waited until 18 to have the abortion. She was 2 weeks away from the halfway point and eligible for an anatomy scan. This wasn't a pill she took. It would have to have been a full induced delivery. It's possible she was even feeling kicks. OP said their families knew about the pregnancy. I'm wondering if she found out about a major deformity and hid it from him, or possibly a paternity test with another man. I'm all for a woman's right to choose, but the lack of communication here is astoundingly toxic for a loving relationship. This is like living a lie-level deceit.
Continuing the conversation by bbear1995187 2 days ago. I'm currently 22 weeks pregnant with my first pregnancy and have felt kicks since about 18 weeks. It's possible that feeling those kicks made it more real for her as well. I know for me, that's when pregnancy really set in and I realized I was going to be a parent.
Follow up in the thread by Mrs. Oliver Queen, 1872 days ago. Not necessarily a full induced delivery, like pushing the baby out, but definitely past the time for the pill. I had lost a baby at 18 weeks. I had to have a surgery, D and amp, E, dilation and evacuation, since I didn't naturally pass the baby. I won't go into details, but I was under general anesthesia while my doctor did her thing.
Further response in the discussion by Plenty Security, 1872 days ago. Similar here. Brain deformity. 20 weeks. It was awful. I had been feeling movement since 14 weeks right, up until they put me under. A multi-day procedure, and then surgery in an OR for the D and AMP-E. You don't mess around with that. I'm very pro-choice. But you don't wait that long if you don't feel ready. She was almost at viability. I would guess there's someone else involved. And this was a choice between the baby inside of her or the future, and family she wants with Op.
I replied to the previous reply by 4/8/1872 days ago. You can anatomy scan at 16 weeks now at most doctors' offices with newer equipment. We got the anatomy of our twins at exactly 16 weeks with a 3D ultrasound. We could see everything on them. Hands, feet, little baby Winky. They were legitimately very tiny humans who would kick and turn and react to my wife's voice and what she ate. I fully support the pro-choice side of things, but terminating a healthy and planned pregnancy at 4.5 months in is legitimately insane to me. I don't think I could have stayed with my wife if this happened to me. I considered myself a father by that point and was fully preparing myself for my new life as a parent to 2 children. I'm in no way saying it was her responsibility or job to carry the now unwanted pregnancy to term, but there's something seriously unsettling to me about all the circumstances behind the termination and how she waited for Op to leave so she could do it and formulate her lie. He would have never known what happened unless someone else told him, and that opens up an entirely different case of worms he has to sort through. This post is a multifaceted WTF of biblical proportions.
Follow up in the thread by Hate Cookie, 1872 days ago. This makes me wonder if the story is even true. I'm a lifelong advocate for women's right to choose, and it is very unusual for someone to choose to have an abortion at 18 weeks for non-medical reasons. Extremely rare for someone to set up a whole nursery beforehand and then lie to the spouse. Either this story is fake, or his wife is genuinely very screwed up.
A reply to the previous reply by SUBREDDIT 1872 days ago. I keep going back to why she waited until he was out of town, and why she felt she couldn't talk to him about it. I think there's more to the story than OP lets on about how the pregnancy or the treatment of her during her pregnancy was going. There's 100 things that could have gone on here. A few you mentioned about defects or cheating. Is OP pro-life? And she was scared of going against his beliefs. Is OP's wife just a sneaky, dishonest person? Did OP become controlling? Or the opposite, apathetic to her and only care about the baby? So much more information and context is needed here.
Still talking it through by the original poster. And OP's wife has a friend who felt the need to expose her lie. If she was in an abusive relationship, you'd think a friend with access to such a life-shattering secret would protect it at all costs.
Deep reply in the thread by Infatuation WA Ghost 1872 days ago. There are friends and then there are friends.
Nested response continuing the dialogue by the original poster. People don't tell their friends about secret abortions.
More thoughts down the chain by Infatuation WA Ghost 1872 days ago. Sometimes you don't realize they are a friend until something like this happens.
A reply to the previous reply by 10minutes_late 1872 days ago. I agree. This goes beyond my body, my choice. Quote dot. This is 4 months of lying about a major life event. It dumbfounds me how if this were a credit card or some other debt, people would be in arms for a divorce. This is a child. And it's counseling.
Still talking it through by Advice 1324, 1872 days ago. This is not the first thread I've seen like this. The other one, there were a bunch of comments like, getting an abortion against your wishes for a planned child is an issue that needs counseling, but it's not a deal breaker. Who the fuck are you people to say whether it's a deal breaker? It's a deal breaker for me. People divorce over miscarriages because they misplace blame on one another. If your partner Tatchally Johns Nice unilaterally decided to rip that future from you, fuck that. I'm out. That relationship would never Tatchas be the same.
Continuing the conversation by Miss Dontcare _1872 days ago, my thoughts exactly. I support women's rights to choose, but as someone who started feeling kicks at 17 weeks, I'm sort of in shock here.
Continuing the conversation by Kai Sim 1872 days ago. Yeah, this is what screams fake to me. It's too perfect for a men's right post. It's very rare to have an abortion this late, and it would have required general anesthesia. And money. This would definitely affect your insurance. I'm not sure if it would even be possible in most states. Screams creative writing to me. Someone that doesn't understand how hard it would actually be to do this and how few abortions are this late. And good fodder for certain ideologies that want to demonize abortion rights. Who comes on Reddit after this too? Simon.
Continuing the conversation by Ola Tundu 1872 days ago and GT. I'm wondering if she found out about a major deformity and hid it from him, or possibly a paternity test with another man. This. If she just didn't want a child, presumably she would have used birth control.
Comment number 2 by Narnia's Real 1872 days ago. TBH. I don't see how a relationship can survive this.
Reply number 1 to comment number 2 by the original poster. This would be 100% unforgivable for me. OP needs to leave.
Follow up in the thread by Force Gray 1872 days ago. OP needs to leave yesterday. Wow.
First reply on comment number 2 by Jexy 1872 days ago. First thing comes to mind is that the baby is not his. That's why she needs to abort.
Comment number 3 by the original poster. Deleted.
First reply on comment number 3 by Lexi7191 1872 days ago. I mean, if they ever decide to try for a kid again, will he trust her to go through with it?
Continuing the conversation by the original poster. I don't see OP trying for another child with this wife. This is a pretty crushing situation, and after being so emotionally invested, he wouldn't let that happen to him again. In all fairness, I don't know how this relationship is not over. This was a big violation of trust, and it's not something that can be easily brushed under the rug.
Continuing the conversation by Dollar Nelson 1872 days ago. If she is willing and able to carry on a lie like this, imagine how easy it is for her to throw out the little lies as if they are nothing. I wouldn't trust this lady to get my Sunday paper, let alone share my life with.
A reply to the previous reply by the original poster. She vaporized any trust they had. They're done.
Continuing the conversation by We've Got Dodson here, JP 1872 days ago. Wouldn't waste any more sperm on this wife. She might just try to adopt it out or something.
Reply number 2 to comment number 3 by the original poster. Deleted.
Follow up in the thread by Larry Mann 1872 days ago. The real issue is, why didn't she feel like she could tell him? He says he wanted to talk it out. Sounds like she was scared he'd convince her to be a parent when she wasn't ready. The lie was shitty, but figuring out why she felt the need to lie in the first place is a huge obstacle. Couples therapy would be great. It sounds like she either has assertiveness issues or some imbalance to their partnership.
Still Talking It Through by Tubby O 789 1872 days ago. The thing I don't understand is he states she was the one to bring up wanting to have children. So what changed?
Nested response, continuing the dialogue by Larry Mann 1872 days ago. The reality of it hit her at some point because it suddenly wasn't something they were trying to do anymore. She was actually pregnant and, oh my God, this is really happening. I'm not actually ready. I screwed up and I need to fix it. Maybe it's because I'm a woman who does want kids eventually if I can afford it, but I can see myself suddenly getting crushed with the reality of pregnancy and motherhood very easily once I get pregnant.
Deep reply in the thread by C-Stall 1872 days ago. I had the OMG, what did I do feeling with both of my planned and wanted pregnancies. It just hits you like a ton of bricks. The questions of are you ready, what will happen can be extremely hard to deal with. Mostly they happen in the second trimester for me. With my second, they were worse because I sort of felt guilty that I was taking love and attention away from my first child. Every so often it would just hit me suddenly. I don't know what was going on in OP's wife's mind, but I can totally relate to the anxiety. Bringing a child into the world is a huge responsibility.
More thoughts down the chain by MWB96 1872 days ago. I don't want to immediately skip to a medical answer, but isn't it possible that it could have been pregnancy-related depression?
Deep reply in the thread by Sori Errol, 1872 days ago. Very well could be. I had antenatal depression. There were days I wanted to drive into a wall, or wanted for a miscarriage. There were other days that I was excited to have a kid. After hormones restabilized, I was glad that I had my daughters, but for a while, it was hard to get out of the mindset within the depression.
More thoughts down the chain by Larry Mann, 1872 days ago. Honestly, that's a better explanation than cheating. Why tell your husband you're pregnant at all if you were cheating?
More thoughts down the chain by MWB96 1872 days ago. I hadn't even thought of cheating being an issue. TBH.
Deep reply in the thread by NVM_JK_IDK 1872 days ago. There are prenatal paternity tests. Maybe she had one done and it came back that the baby she pretended to conceive with her husband wasn't his, and she knew it wouldn't pass. Different race/features than husband, maybe? Or maybe I watched too much daytime TV in the Boa Zeros.
Deep reply in the thread by Larry Mann, 1872 days ago. I was an indoor kid who watched way too much Maury too. Don't worry.
Nested response continuing the dialogue by Arrow FF 1872 days ago. Because she might have thought it would be easier just to pretend it was his, then couldn't deal with the guilt.
Nested response continuing the dialogue by the original poster. Wanting a baby, fantasizing about being a parent and being pregnant is all butterflies and rainbows until you're actually pregnant. Some women are elated when reality sets in, and some are regretful. She was regretful. And as dark as it may seem, it was the right choice. Better to regret something and be able to do something about it than to regret it and be stuck with it because you wanted to make someone else happy.
More thoughts down the chain by Brosna 1872 days ago. I absolutely agree with you. If you're not ready to have a child, you shouldn't, and no one should be forced to. However, they are married, and marriage is a partnership. She 100% shouldn't have lied to him about it. That is what the problem is here, not the fact that she had an abortion.
More thoughts down the chain by the original poster. I agree, 100%. It was awful of her to keep that from her husband. Not only that, she spoke to other people about it. And on top, if that someone brought this unbelievably sensitive information back to her husband, she's unbelievably lucky if her marriage survives this. Personally, I wouldn't be able to stay.
Deep reply in the thread by turf.com 1872 days ago. Lots of women change their minds after they're pregnant.
Deep reply in the thread by Tubby O 789 1872 days ago. Then she should have discussed that with her husband. I think it's wrong. She got him all excited to start a family, then all of a sudden, oh wait, I don't want to have this baby, I am going to get rid of it, then lie. I wouldn't be able to stay with her.
More thoughts down the chain by the original poster. 100%. IDK, how she was able to actually look him in the eye for all that time. I'd have a hard time staying. Like, she lied about the death of a baby when she could have just as easily been honest and worked through it. Not to mention the added-on embarrassment of a third party knowing the truth and telling you.
Nested response continuing the dialogue by Tubby O 789 1872 days ago. Yes, she was able to tell other people, but not her own husband. Something is very wrong with that. Then imagine being the husband and getting that phone call. How awful.
Ongoing reply in the thread by Highlander 19811 1872 days ago. He says he wanted to talk it out. Sounds like she was scared he'd convince her to be a parent when she wasn't ready. It sounds like she either has assertiveness issues or some imbalance to their partnership. You are making a lot of assumptions.
Ongoing reply in the thread by the original poster. Ah yes, victim blaming at its finest. Can't be a woman making a shitty decision. The man must be at fault somehow.
Reply number 3 to comment number 3 by Bassheadies 1872 days ago. Came here to say this. And she did it while he was away. She knew he'd be upset, but still pre-planned for that abortion. It wasn't early in the pregnancy, like 6 weeks. This is unforgivable. And I'm so sorry. I hope you find someone better to be parents with.
A reply to the previous reply by Kickdraw, 1872 days ago. This would be a deal breaker for me. The lying, the fact she did it while she was away shows pre-planning and intent to lie. About something that big, yeah, no.
Someone responds to comment number 3 by the original poster, right? I mean, she was 18 weeks. I get people have abortions at that time, but I can't even imagine. The baby's kicking, you can poke it and it pokes back, usually know the gender. Like, not just a clump of cells anymore, but she also still had 22 weeks left to prepare for parenting. I think if I was OP, I wouldn't trust her to get pregnant again.
A reply to the previous reply by You Heart It First, 1872 days ago. This makes me heart hurt, because that is exactly what I was thinking about. I'm pro-choice for others, but not for me, at 18 weeks. By that point, my babies already had personalities that matched them still to them day. I knew my son would turn into a tornado after I ate a big meal, and he still does that now. I know my daughter will sleep soundly when I'm moving, and that's the same now. She's 3, and if I wear her and go for a walk, she's out cold. I had a huge bump, those kicks were strong, that little thing was fully human to me. This just makes my heart hurt.
Further response in the discussion by Wimbledon Butt, 1872 days ago. I knew I was cursed when mine woke up and had a dance party every night at 1 a.m.
Ongoing reply in the thread by the original poster. Yeah, me too. I can't imagine terminating at 18W unless for a serious medical reason. 6 weeks. Yeah, go ahead. It's just cells. You're not that attached either, but by that point, it's a baby, and the termination is also an in-depth medical procedure. I really can't fathom what the wife was thinking. It's so weird. The only thing I can think is that she cheated, and it wasn't her husband's. But I think maybe I've been reading too much Reddit.
Continuing the conversation by Run and Repeat 2018, 1872 days ago. Glad I'm not the only one who thought this. I'm strongly pro-choice, but 18 weeks is late when it isn't something where they found an issue with the fetus.
Comment number 4 by Filthy Cade 1872 days ago. While I agree with others saying her body, her choice, which at the end of the day it totally is, the fact that she lied about having a miscarriage is horrible. She led you to believe your future child had passed, instead of talking to you about how she was feeling. A marriage is supposed to be a partnership, and if she can't come to you about something that will affect you both, I'd say you have a lot to think about. The fact that she lied and acted as if she lost the baby when she had no intention of carrying on with the pregnancy doesn't sit right with me. To think your wife could lie so well about something so major for presumably an extended period of time would have me questioning what else she could or has lied about. At the end of the day, if she wasn't ready to have a baby, it was the right thing to do, as devastating as it may be for you. But she shouldn't have kept you in the dark and lied to you. If I was in your shoes, I'd sit her down and have a frank discussion about how this has made you feel, but also listen to her and find out how she feels. There may be more to this than just not being ready to be a parent. Therapy is an absolute must here, both as a couple and individually. If you love her and want to work through this, that is the first step. But it may be a long road. I wish you luck, and I am so sorry for your loss.
Reply number 1 to comment number 4 by the original poster and GT. If I was in your shoes, I'd sit her down and have a frank discussion about how this has made you feel, but also listen to her and find out how she feels. There may be more to this than just not being ready to be a parent. The Idagasoixten Stali asterisk thing I want to add is that this conversation should actually happen in front of a therapist. Some things are just too big. Therapists aren't just for healing/advice. They're also for being a professional, unbiased third party who makes sure that nobody gets spoken over during important conversations. A therapist will be able to help them make sure their discussion is safe/as constructive as possible. Follow up in the thread by the original poster. I know that this is going to get downvoted so much, but at this point, I really don't care. This is most definitely something that you both need to visit a counselor for. A therapist will get both sides of the story. This is an account of one side of the story. We are reading this, and we have to take what you are saying as true. We have to believe that it was her idea to have kids. We have to believe from your account that you both decided when to have children. And we are presented with your account of betrayal. You are telling us this story asking for advice, but I seriously doubt any sane person will take advice from Reddit. Maybe someone on here is an actual clinical counselor, but even if they were, they wouldn't be able to give you relationship advice about this without an actual appointment in an office with both parties present. I can see how this sub would eventually lead to this, but this isn't the avenue for situations like this. Further response in the discussion by the original poster, marriage and family therapist here. The process of engaging in couples counseling allows for the exchange of tough thoughts and emotions without the conversation turning into a shouting match, usually. To give the relationship a chance, it is necessary to be able to speak to each other, and more importantly, hear each other in the area of motivations, etc. Of course, the circumstances of this event may prove too much for either to overlook, but at least his wife will have the opportunity to explain her mindset in more detail. Give yourselves a chance to work out the emotions before deciding to end the marriage.
Nested response continuing the dialogue by Twisted Weasel 1872 days ago. Therapist here as well, and I concur. This is big, and while getting this out on social media may be good for release, it is not if you want to explore, in an unbiased setting, the status of your relationship. Edit. Thank you for the award.
Ongoing reply in the thread by the original poster. Almost downvoted just because you said you would get downvoted. I hate when people start comments like that. More thoughts down the chain by Jack Dilsenberg 1872 days ago. I did downvote. It's one of my personal rules to always downvote a comment that starts with, I know I'm going to get downvoted for this, but, quote. Ongoing reply in the thread by the original poster. Deleted.
Deep reply in the thread by Advice 1324 1872 days ago. I know this is wildly unpopular, and I know I have to be brave and post this advice despite the adversity I will face by giving it. But I think you should see a professional who deals with these kinds of issues. Quote,
Nested response continuing the dialogue by Luckman_and_Barris 1872 days ago. Even though I know I will be downvoted to oblivion, no one will agree with me, and I will become a pariah on this site, I'm still going to say it because I believe you need to hear this. But I think you should shit on her pillow and blame it on the dog. Quote,
More thoughts down the chain by the original poster. I base the assumption that I am certain to be downvoted on the fact that the highly upvoted comment I'm replying to also said you should see a therapist. Quote, Ongoing reply in the thread by Fanalism 1872 days ago. Yeah, there has to be more to the wife's reason to get an abortion covertly. My first thought was avoiding pressure from the husband to carry to term. You don't have a clandestine abortion when you have healthy communication. We don't know enough about their couple's dynamic to be sure of how the conversation would have played out.
A reply to the previous reply by Emily_Postal 1872 days ago. Agree to both of these comments. Get to a couples therapist now.
Still talking it through by the original poster. Yeah, this is quite a bit beyond the ability of Reddit to unpack. There's a lot going on here, and I don't think we have enough information to really make judgments. Go to therapy. Yesterday.
A reply to the previous reply by Ice and Iron 1872 days ago. Yup, all of this.
First reply on comment number 4 by the original poster. I'd say that she's got the choice to not have a baby, but not the right to lie to you. Relationships need trust, and it's clear that there's none of that here. I'd support you if you were my friend and were thinking of leaving. I'd encourage you to do so, in fact. Follow up in the thread by the original poster. Deleted.
Ongoing reply in the thread by Halcyon Lightning 1872 days ago. Right? That's what I can't wrap my head around. According to OP, she was all excited to have a child. They both agreed they were ready, they spent time together planning, etc. And then just, no? Either there's something underlying here, or she just changed her mind and didn't want to tell OP. It doesn't matter which one, because either way, she lied.
Nested response continuing the dialogue by Jocelyn MSU 1872 days ago. Especially that late on the pregnancy. 18 weeks is nearly halfway there. I'm wondering if she got some troubling genetic test results back and didn't want to let her husband know and tell him she miscarried. 12 weeks is usually when you get genetic testing done, in my experiences. Maybe results at 13 weeks, and seeing a specialist, MFM, to confirm could take a few weeks to verify. I wonder if she got some devastating news and aborted to spare the husband the heartbreak and decision to abort. I may have too high of hopes, but I just see that as more likely than yup, nope.
Deep reply in the thread by Chop 1872 days ago. Some things don't start showing up until the anatomy scan ultrasound around 16 to 18 weeks, so you could be right. Could be a genetic disorder that wasn't one of the major trisomies/extra chromosomes that caused development issues showing in the 16 to 18-week ultrasound. I unfortunately know too much about this right now due to great tragedy.
Deep reply in the thread by cat_prophecy, 1872 days ago. You would think in that situation she would at least try to have a conversation about it. Nothing can work around the fact that she lied about it.
Still talking it through by SSF669187 2 days ago. There has to be something going on that he isn't either telling us or that he doesn't know. No woman would go through everything she did and really want a child and then abort it for no reason. From the sounds of it, it was always her idea and she was really excited and pushing for this. There is more to the story for sure.
Deep reply in the thread by Evil Keevil Do, 1872 days ago. Maybe pregnant with someone else's kid?
Someone responds to comment number 4 by ESC907, 1872 days ago. I am surprised that nobody mentions that there is the chance that the child might not have been his. For her to swing so extremely from "I want a baby" to "I had a miscarriage" when she aborted the child, I would seriously question her motive for the act. But yes, counseling.
Follow up in the thread by the original poster. Yep, I actually had a friend who did this. I literally sat in the car with her as she sobbed to her BF about having a miscarriage, when in reality, we just left the pregnancy center with her abortion pill. She didn't know who the dad was and was too ashamed to admit it. I did feel bad for her, but it's still a fucked up thing to do. Further response in the discussion by the original poster. More thoughts down the chain by the original poster. Yes, had, Lolu.
Still talking it through by OKCPU, 1872 days ago. Your friend is a piece of shit.
Further response in the discussion by the original poster. I feel worse for the BF, considering she slept with enough guys to not even know who the dad was.
More thoughts down the chain by Brutinator, 1872 days ago. I mean, sleep with the boyfriend and one other guy, and you wouldn't know who the dad was.
Deep reply on the thread by the original poster, removed. Nested response continuing the dialogue by the original poster. It was only one other, but still, very shitty.
Follow up in the thread by Spooky Skepticism, 1872 days ago. She still would have handled that situation stupidly though. If she's only willing to carry her husband's child, and there's a chance someone else is the father, why tell anyone she's pregnant at all and make a lie out of getting an abortion? Why actively try for children with your husband while cheating on him with someone else, knowing pregnancy from either is a possibility? I know cheating isn't always premeditated, but I guess you just have to be especially irrational, self-sabotaging, or incredibly stupid to let your life unfold like this. It could totally have been someone else's, I guess. But if you've had unprotected sex with multiple people, you know paternity is a toss-up. She could easily have gotten Plan B, or kept her mouth shut, and quietly gotten the abortion during this business trip, without traumatizing her husband.
Further response in the discussion by Lalaluv, 728187 2 days ago. Maybe she was hopeful, but then found out a discrepancy in dating. I work in an OBGYN office, and it wouldn't be the first time I have seen this. I am more disturbed that she waited till 18 weeks. Despite popular belief, most abortions are done early, and the ones 18 weeks and beyond are normally done for an issue found on ultrasound with the baby. I wonder if the baby had an abnormality and she didn't want to tell anyone.
Deep reply in the thread by Occasional Rambling, 1872 days ago. This is what I was wondering. I'm not an OB, but I believe this is around the time the anatomy ultrasound comes in, which could mean they found something. She might be ready for a kid, just not one that needs extra care. It's definitely something to consider and discuss with their therapist.
Deep reply in the thread by Lalalov, 728187 2 days ago. Exactly. That's normally a big turning point and everything sounds scary. It's just sad she decided to go through all that on her own. At the same time, she denied OP a voice in the decision and true mourning.
Nested response continuing the dialogue by RO_Goose, 1872 days ago. Absolutely. Even if you're 100% gonna go through with it, the husband still needs to know beforehand. Marriage is about trust.
Deep reply in the thread by Spooky Skepticism, 1872 days ago. So if you work in an OBGYN, I 100% defer to you. Your second point sounds likely to me just because, as a woman, if I had an unwanted pregnancy, I'd go to a doctor ASAP so I could hopefully get the abortion pill. But if something was wrong with the child and OP found out, maybe she got an abortion because she thought OP wouldn't want to terminate because of a birth defect? All speculation, of course. I do feel like a conversation is in order just because something deeper has got to be going on.
More thoughts down the chain by Lalaloo7281872 2 days ago. Definitely a conversation needs to be done. The only time I saw just because abortions past 12 or so weeks are normally in young women. There are so many types of abnormalities that are found. Most are compatible with life but include surgeries, and their effect are some parents that don't want less than perfect children or the extra work. It makes more sense to me, especially with a mother who planned and originally welcomed. Her also being an emotional wreck would show she had an attachment. This is an all-around sad situation, but her hiding it makes it all worse.
Deep reply in the thread by SSF669187 2 days ago. This was my suspicion as well. I hope, if this is even real, that he gets her some help quickly. I suspect he found out there was something wrong and decided to make the choice to terminate because she knew he would not support her choice.
Nested response continuing the dialogue by Lalalove728187 2 days ago. Definitely tragic. A fetal abnormality can cause many types if responses and tension between partners.
Further response in the discussion by entrenched 1872 days ago. Some people are just that irrational. I know someone that did that. She cheated and got pregnant and then aborted but said it was a miscarriage. She played it all on Facebook about her miscarriage to get attention. Luckily, the husband eventually realized how abusive and toxic she was and divorced her. Got full custody of his kids, too.
A reply to the previous reply by Adenteria 1872 days ago. It's very possible that she went from I want a kid before having/being pregnant to shit, am pregnant, and to be not really wanting to have a kid yet. ID say is the most taboo not wanting a kid when you are already expecting. No one talks about this really. She didn't realize till very late what was happening/how life was going to be and decided to have an abortion. Maybe she just didn't want OP to get mixed feelings about her for not wanting to have the baby anymore, and decided for both when OP being absent. She needed to be more open to him.
Follow up in the thread by HoneyNJ 2001-872 2 days ago. That was my thought as well. I suspect this baby wasn't the OP's.
Ongoing reply in the thread by the original poster. There is some reason she aborted the baby. OP needs to be told the truth about the reason.
Ongoing reply in the thread by Morbidar 1872 days ago. Yay, if she's lying like this and he's traveling for his job. I don't know. Seems suspect.
Follow up in the thread by Cialis 1872 days ago. As a counterpoint, thinking about being pregnant and having a baby is very different from actually being faced with the reality of having one. You can cry yourself to sleep over the thought of being childless, and then months later find yourself wide awake in the middle of the night in terror over the reality of how your life will change once you have a baby. Plus, depression and anxiety during pregnancy is very real. I think counseling is probably a better idea than rampant negative speculation, especially if there are no other red flags or indications of infidelity. If he brings this up, or allows this to cloud his judgment/discussions with his wife, he may not listen to her real explanations of why she did this and why she lied.
Follow up in the thread by PinkFever19-1872 days ago. I never even considered this. OP. Please read the comment above. It might not seem possible she would do such a thing, but please consider it for the sake of your future. Everything she's done so far is a subtle, if not a huge, location flag. Location flag.
Continuing the conversation by Sniper 2468 1872 days ago. This. If she lies about the abortion, she is capable of lying about who the father is. This is not normal behavior for a woman to just have an abortion for the fact of just not being ready. This is the ultimate betrayal. She aborted a child when all she had to do is say, I'm not ready. Something more to this. If she can lie about this, she can lie about anything and cannot be trusted.
Reply number 4 to comment number 4 by the original poster. Deleted.
A reply to the previous reply by Yilali 1872 days ago. In addition to way more to this story, 18 weeks is really late for an abortion. Many places don't allow it unless for medical reasons. Something might have been wrong with the child or with her, and she's ashamed for something that really isn't her fault. There's a multitude of valid reasons to do as she did, so don't be too quick to judge, OP. Therapy is really the only way to find out her reasoning. Could be nefarious, as some suggest, could be a health issue with herself or the child.
Follow up in the thread by Flipzar 1872 days ago. He said he was gone 8 days, not 2 months.
Someone responds to comment number 4 by Athena V 1872 days ago. This 100%, and therapy. And keep in mind that pregnancy hormones are no joke. They, figuratively, can turn a woman upside down and inside out. They made my very positive and happy best friend suicidal to the point she had to go on medication. Before anyone jumps down my throat, this absolutely doesn't excuse her shitty behavior and lack of communication. But sometimes there are reasons for them that should be given a voice.
First reply on comment number 4 by Dznutzium 1872 days ago. Very sorry for your loss. What an extreme shock this must be for you. Allow yourself the time to take it all in and process the news, OP. Therapy is an absolute must, but the trust here has been extremely violated. Wish you all the best in your journey.
Someone responds to comment number 4 by Can't Choose Honestly 1872 days ago. Her body, her choice does not sit right with me in this situation. It's not a pregnancy they weren't looking for. They were trying to have a baby. And the fact that she didn't think about the consequences until she was pregnant and did all of this to her man. It's just too much, in my opinion.
Follow up in the thread by UGHY usernames 1872 days ago. Her body, her choice only means OP can't force her to be or not be pregnant, which isn't the issue here. Obviously, her actions have consequences. In this case, besides the fact that she lied, which can be enough to destroy a marriage, it also raises a lot of questions about whether they are compatible. They planned to have children, she changed her mind. People should definitely divorce if one wants kids and the other doesn't.
Follow up in the thread by the original poster. Deleted.
Ongoing reply in the thread by Wimbledon Butt 1872 days ago. My pregnancy almost broke me halfway through. I already dealt with severe hyperemesis from week 7 on, which I didn't even know was a thing before. But around week 20, I had to start seeing a physical therapist because I couldn't walk. The shit pregnancy does to your body is almost unbearable when the right shit hits you. I made it through it, had many miserable weeks stranded on the couch eating microwave plain potatoes because I could keep them down half the time, and it felt like it would never end, but I made it. There was 4 weeks at its worst where I was unable to even leave the house. That pregnancy guaranteed that I will never get pregnant again. I seriously get panic attacks if I start feeling queasy now. This isn't always, oh, they didn't think it through. Sometimes it's shit that no one ever told you could happen.
More thoughts down the chain by Drunk Kitties 1872 days ago. This is very real. This whole story makes me sad.
Still talking it through by Can't Choose Honestly 1872 days ago. Exactly. Thank you very much for understanding that I'm absolutely pro-choice, but there's something worrying in her behavior.
Reply number 8 to comment number 4 by Cedarts 1872 days ago. Her body, her choice, is a legal principle. Legality is not morality.
Comment number 5 by JD Snips 1872 days ago. I don't think I could forgive. Trust is gone. My mind would race. She had no problem keeping you in the dark about it. Made a huge decision without you. 18 weeks ain't early either. My heart breaks for you, mate.
Someone responds to comment number 5 by Greenwood Yellower 1872 days ago. This whole thing is odd. Her body, her choice, which it will always boil down to. But she brought him into the decision as a married couple, then took him out of the decision in a deceitful way. I don't think I could forgive either.
Comment number 6 by Plant Baby Mama 1872 days ago. I'm sorry this happened to you.
Comment number 7 by Ridgehand999187 2 days ago. Is there any chance that she would be going outside of the marriage and was afraid it wasn't your child and you would find out? That was my first thought. I'm skeptical that way. Sorry. Just being the devil's advocate, I guess.
Reply number 1 to comment number 7 by Tundra Gremlin 1872 days ago. This is where my mind went also. At one stretch in my life, I moonlighted as a safety escort for an abortion clinic. Most were extremely quiet, but there were many that talked my ear off as it was treated as a safe space. The patients hiding it from others, spouse/parent/significant others, overwhelmingly went on about it so they could talk to someone. Of all the ones, more than 30% of the total people keeping it from spouses and significant others, all but one was because they cheated and didn't know who the father was. It really opened my eyes just how prevalent infidelity and a resulting accidental pregnancy was.
Follow up in the thread by Very Horrible Person 1872 days ago. This scares the shit out of me.
Ongoing reply in the thread by Kakarox 1872 days ago. This makes me want to stay single forever.
Nested response continuing the dialogue by Robert_Shireya 1872 days ago. Lucky I'm ugly at, so I don't have to worry about things like this.
Reply number 2 to comment number 7 by Jessa Q 1872 days ago. Just seen your comment for the first time after posting mine. That's exactly what I thought toward the end after letting my mind wander. Maybe the baby would have been a different race or had distinguishing features that would cast suspicion on the wife. That would at least shed some light on why she seemed happy and wanted the baby and then changed her mind.
Continuing the conversation by Guacamolina 1872 days ago. Plus, it sounds like OP goes on business trips frequently, so.
First reply on comment number 7 by Trailing Comma 1872 days ago. This was my first thought. On top of that, if she is willing to lie about a miscarriage and inflict that pain on him to make her own life easier without any consultation at all, then she is willing to do anything and lie about anything without consideration for him. And AMP #X200B. Doing this secretly would be a deal breaker for me.
Someone responds to comment number 7 by the original poster and GT, just being the devil's advocate, I guess. That's not what being the devil's advocate means.
Comment number 8 by Istara 1872 days ago. I'm so sorry this happened. I would say the chance of your marriage surviving this issue is vanishingly small, and I urge couples counseling if you do want to save it. I also think your wife's mental health needs medical attention, because the circumstances of what she did are bizarre and troubling.
First reply on comment number 8 by the original poster. Instead of mental health being the problem, it might just be bad personality traits, like selfishness and dishonesty.
Continuing the conversation by Istara 1872 days ago. It might well be that, but counseling should give a clearer picture.
Further response in the discussion by the original poster. Yes, totally.
Continuing the conversation by the clerk 1872 days ago. It could also be that OP is an unreliable narrator. We know nothing about their relationship, and it's possible that she is afraid of saying no or defying him, hence why she agreed to a child and went behind his back.
Further response in the discussion by Chicago Durga 1872 days ago. I had to scroll down too far for this comment. I'm not saying the OP isn't an angel. He might very well be. But my parent abused me for 17 years and could have written something exactly like OP's post, and no one would have been the wiser as to what was really going on in our household. Just another facet to consider. I am sorry this incident happened, no matter what the circumstances were. It's very painful all the way around, and I hope both parties can heal in the future.
Comment number 9 by Antimetal123187 2 days ago. I can't be the only one thinking she cheated. Talks about getting pregnant, gets pregnant almost immediately, sees how excited you are, felt extremely guilty, and got an abortion while you are away. Timeline is too suspicious to be mental health, plus the addition of constantly lying. First reply on comment number 9 by Grifolian 1872 days ago. It's not a foregone conclusion, but there is more than enough justification for the suspicion.
Reply number 2 to comment number 9 by the original poster. If so, he dodged the fucking bullet. Comment number 10 by the original poster. This post has devolved into a pro-choice versus pro-life argument, in which both sides are childishly reporting every comment they don't agree with. OP has received ample advice to review for his situation.
Comment number 11 by Tuna_Fart 1872 days ago. Total deal breaker.
Comment number 12 by Midake Hair here 1872 days ago. I'd be done. That lie is too big. But I don't accept lying in general in my relationships.
Comment number 13 by Eskasriet 1872 days ago. I do agree that it's her body, and end of the day is her choice. But I got a few issues with her decisions before and after the abortion. 1. It seemed the let's have, not have kids conversation multiple times in their marriage. At least twice. Once early on and again before trying. When you both decided and agreed it's time to try for kids after getting the house and being stable. If she didn't feel she was ready, she should have brought it up before you both agreed to try for kids. Yes, it's scary bringing this up when your partner is ready for kids. But it seems like you would be open to having that conversation and supporting her if she needed more time before committing to being a mother. 2. She acted like she was mourning with you. Not only leaving your work trip early for a lie, but it, to me, is very unsettling that she pretended to be a depressed mother that lost her baby, crying with you and making you feel you need to be the strong, supportive partner, when it was all a lie. As a woman, I cannot understand why she would do all of this, when she could have avoided that with having a conversation about it at the start and even when she found out. She could have second thoughts when she got pregnant, but doesn't change the fact that she should have talked to you about it before aborting. It is her body and right, but she is also in a marriage, where communication on wants, needs, fears, etc. is to be expected in a health relationship. I am so sorry you have to go through all of this. If you want to try to save this relationship, go to counseling. But I'm pretty sure you will always remember this, even if you do end up forgiving her. I honestly think the relationship is done, the trust is gone, and she should lie in the bed she's made with her long string of horrible decisions. To be clear, abortion itself is not the horrible decision, just the context of before and after it.
Someone responds to comment number 13 by Game Warrior 1872 days ago. I think it is her obligation as a partner in a marriage to at least have this conversation with her husband before going through with an abortion. It's something she should have a final say in. But he deserves to be a part of the decision, I think.
Continuing the conversation by Redtail 303 1872 days ago. I agree. After all, the father helps create the child. Literally, half the child comes from him. That should entitle him to some input.
Reply number 2 to comment number 13 by the original poster. A lot of women who have abortions do actively mourn the loss. So that may not have been deception. She may have truly felt depressed. And also, a lot of women don't realize the gravity of pregnancy until the sets are pregnant, so she may have really wanted a baby up until the point she was actually pregnant. The issue is the lack of communication and the lies. I wouldn't blame him if he struggled to trust her after this. If he wants to try and get through this, then yes, therapy is needed.
Reply number 3 to comment number 13 by Papillion 1872 days ago. I'm not sure there was any trust in her for OP even to begin with. If she trusted him at all, she would have talked about her concerns before or after. And now she created a situation where OP is unlikely to ever be able to trust her again.
Continuing the conversation by Escus Ried 1872 days ago. I would only add, if she couldn't trust OP to have a let's put a pause on kids, why marry or remain married to him? Like I mentioned in my post, bringing this topic to your partner is very scary when the partner is eager for kids. But for any marriage to work, you must be able to have these hard conversations. If you fear on your partner's reaction, to the extreme like harm or straight to divorce, and do not have major anxiety problems, I believe it's a sign to get out of the relationship before choices are or things that are said that you would regret later. But yes, OP's wife, regardless of the amount of trust she had or hadn't in him, has destroyed his trust in her.
First reply on comment number 13 by MCRX Lover 5 1872 days ago. I completely agree, except for part about mourning. You can have an abortion and believe it was necessary and still be deeply emotionally traumatized by it.
Continuing the conversation by Escus Riet 1872 days ago. I do agree and was a mistake on my original post. I tried to say that her acting like it was an accident rather than a choice was the issue. Getting an abortion is a huge decision, and like you said, you do go through emotional and physical trauma over it. I am sorry if my post came across that she shouldn't have any feelings when it was her choice to do it.
Someone responds to comment number 13 by the original poster. Deleted.
Comment number 14 by Cookie2K 1872 days ago. Not ready after discussing it and trying secret abortion. Yep, sounds like that kid was going to turn out to be some other guy's in an obvious way, so she had to hide the evidence.
First reply on comment number 14 by Untipokenawega 1872 days ago. Even if it wasn't true, I'd fixate on this way too much.
Someone responds to comment number 14 by the original poster. Yeah, as a guy who's been there before, this is it.
Comment number 15 by XO Emily 1872 days ago. Get the fluff out of that relationship. That's what you do. I'm 100% pro-choice. But if she wasn't ready to be a parent, then she shouldn't have started to try to conceive. The fact she waited until she was 18 weeks pregnant when she aborted is also a point to draw a line. That is actually a child at that stage. I'm surprised she even found a clinic to do it that late. Why on earth would she actively allow you to try? If she's going to lie about something, then why not lie about taking BC so she doesn't end up with a child to abort? And if she started to sense she was pregnant, why didn't she abort then? She was 6 weeks when you guys found out, which is a perfectly safe time to abort. It is incredibly cruel to you and to her unborn child to decide halfway through, nope, not going to do this, and then also lie to you about it. If she got cold feet, she could have talked to you and talked about adopting. Maybe you could have done an open adoption so that you could still be in the child's life. I get the sense of I'm not ready to be a parent. I absolutely do not want kids. Getting pregnant is my biggest fear. But there is no excuse for her to allow you guys to go through with trying, getting pregnant, telling you she's pregnant, letting you be excited for months, and then you go out on a business trip and she uses that time to go get a secret abortion, call you away from that business trip, lie to you, break your heart, and to also expect you to comfort her. Asterisk. Does this woman have no moral compass? File for divorce. Jesus.
Someone responds to comment number 15 by the original poster. In some places, you can get an abortion up to 24 weeks. Source, living in the UK where that's the case.
Comment number 16 by Millhouse vs. Evil 1872 days ago. Your relationship is over. She should have been honest with you. The grief of losing a baby and to then find out the person you care about the most made that choice for you. As someone who has lived with 2 miscarriages, it's hard to not feel disgust at someone who uses that pain to cover their dishonesty.
Comment number 17 by Dizzlingsteak 1872 days ago. This is a repost of a post I've already seen on this thread, LMAO.
Comment number 18 by Kimisel 1872 days ago. I'm sorry, but something just isn't sitting right with me. 18 weeks is a long time to be pregnant. I'm 16 weeks now, and I'm beginning to feel the baby a bit. My tummy is starting to distend. We just found out the gender. I mean, this is becoming real. What I'm trying to say is, getting to this stage in the pregnancy to then decide you're not ready for it, that's a pretty big deal. Let's also discuss the fact that at 18 weeks, the procedure for an abortion is quite complex. It is a full-on procedure, including the dilation of the uterus, essentially almost mocking an actual birth. This is not a decision to be taken lightly, if the reasons aren't health-related. I'm not saying that I don't believe the story, or at least I'm going on faith that it is real, but I am saying that your wife could not have made this decision lightly, and she must have gone through a serious crisis to reach the verdict at such a late stage that she is not ready for this. My advice, therefore, and I know this is an unpopular opinion based on the other comments I've seen, is to calm down a bit from you, understandable, shock and anger, and then go talk to her. She cannot be in an easy place right now. Maybe go seek counseling together as well. I really wish you the best, and that you get your family goals back on track. Update. I really appreciate the traction my comment got, and thank you so much for the award.
Reply number 1 to comment number 18 by Inga Chan 1872 days ago. I agree. 18 weeks is a really, really late abortion. It isn't even legal in many countries or heavily restricted. In my country, you would need to apply and mostly likely have a good medical reason after week 12. It's also not like you just drop in at the hospital for a late abortion. It takes a lot of scheduling both before and after.
First reply on comment number 18 by Landspeed 1872 days ago. My wife is 15 weeks pregnant now. I am a staunch abortion advocate, but I can't imagine getting an abortion at this point. We know the sex of the baby. We have seen the baby multiple times. We have a baby Doppler to hear the heartbeat. Really, Core, our baby is nearly fully formed and the size of a navel orange. Very few people get abortions after 13 weeks, with most occurring before 11 or 12 weeks at the latest. Something doesn't add up here. Most doctors would question doing this at 18 weeks. It's legal, but it's somewhat unethical unless there are real medical reasons.
A reply to the previous reply by Chemical 1872 days ago. That's entirely my thinking in this case. No one would take a decision like this lightly, and there is no way she could have done this without consulting at least a few people. This is a really complex situation. Seems like we will be having our babies at the same time as each other. Smiley face. That's a nice thought. Wishing you guys a smooth and healthy rest of pregnancy and birth.
Reply number 3 to comment number 18 by the original poster. Removed.
Continuing the conversation by Veterinary Gopher 1872 days ago. Yes, antepartum depression. It's not talked about, and it almost killed me. I experienced the psychosis part of it, and was almost to the point of driving my car off a bridge into the river with my daughter in the back seat. I had to get intensive therapy for my entire pregnancy. I was fine 4 weeks postpartum, and the thoughts were gone.
Ongoing reply in the thread by Chemical 1872 days ago. Thank you for sharing this. I'm sorry you went through that. You need to help raise more awareness about this. I don't think most women, including myself, are very knowledgeable in this. My friend just accepted that she had postpartum depression, and her daughter is nearly a year old. And that is something a lot Meyer talked about. Mental health awareness in pregnancy should be as important as the physiological side, MO.
Nested response continuing the dialogue by Veterinary Gopher 1872 days ago. It's interesting because there's no way to know if it's going to happen. I didn't experience it with my first pregnancy, which had multiple obstacles due to my young age, being single, and not having a support system in place. My second pregnancy was planned, I had tons of support, and my body decided to turn against me. There's so many complications of pregnancy that just aren't talked about, because if you survive, you're told to just be grateful you get to go home with a baby.
More thoughts down the chain by Chemical 1872 days ago. We are pumped with this dogma that childbirth is a gift and should be treated as the most precious thing. What do we do with gifts? We are taught to say thank you and be grateful. I.e., if anything goes wrong, we should hide it, because we are so grateful we've been given the gift of childbirth. Yes, it is a beautiful thing, and the last thing I am is saying we shouldn't love our bodies for being able to produce a child. What I am saying is that society needs to stop making women feel like we are just vessels to hold new life in, and that we do not have the right to voice ourselves when things go wrong emotionally. We just need to feel free to express the bad with the good. It might even help us balance ourselves out without having to self-medicate as much, or even worse, go behind our partner's back, because we are too ashamed. Follow up in the thread by Chemical 1872 days ago. I completely agree with you here. I feel it is only too easy for people on the outside to conclude that a relationship must end, when relationships are so complex and issues can be resolved if both parties are willing to. In this case, Opia said he still loves his wife. He's just super mad, which gives me hope he hasn't given up on the relationship, so I would hesitate to be so damning about the wife and the future of the relationship. Maybe it's because I'm pregnant too, and have also been through making the decisions re-abortions in the past to maybe make me a little more understanding of the wife's situation. It is truly a heavy decision to make at any time. I again agree that she needs counseling both for herself and for her and OP to open up about what happened, because it is a very drastic and final decision to abort a baby at 18 weeks. Whether, as you say, it's from a form of depression or something else, as we don't know the wife or the situation, it's really hard to say.
Comment number 19 by Amacranfo 1872 days ago. I am astounded that there aren't more people who realize this is completely fake. I can only find 2 comments in this whole thread. Usually people are a little skeptical of blatant storytelling. 1. The account. Even taking into consideration, throwaway accounts are new to post one thing. He hasn't commented on a single thing. 2. 18-week abortion? Without cause? Assuming this is the US. And likely most other countries too, but I am not familiar with their laws. There wouldn't be a doctor around that will do that, so close to viability. Not to mention that in most of the US, it is still super illegal to get abortions past at most 12 to 14 weeks without medical reason. 3. There is clear motive for this to be false. It paints pro-choice in a terrible light. All the comments are pro-choicers who are like, this makes me question my pro-choice attitude, and the anti-abortionists have ammunition to throw in for their next debate. No way is this real. I have never not given benefit of doubt to many of the wild tales in popular subs, on the off chance that they're true. This one though, OMG. Absolutely fake.
First reply on comment number 19 by Neolini 1872 days ago. Reddit sometimes gives abused and coerced women the advice to get an abortion and pretend she had a miscarriage. This immediately struck me as either an angry, anti-choice person trying to make credit look hypocritical, or even the abuser's perspective in such a relationship. Notice how little detail about their actual relationship there is. Shady AF.
Someone responds to comment number 19 by Notable Postings 1872 days ago. I had to scroll way too far for this. It's obvious that this is anti-abortion anger bait.
First reply on comment number 19 by the original poster. I cannot believe the top comment isn't just fake.
Comment number 20 by psychological_tear_6 1872 days ago. I'd say this is above Reddit's pay grade, and to get couples counseling, you need to talk and work through it, whether you stay together or not, and it could be really helpful to have a pro there. It's a huge breach of trust, and you need to deal with the grief, and I'm sure she also has a big emotional tangle to work through.
Someone responds to comment number 20 by Try Again Name 1872 days ago. If it happened the way this guy is describing, I wouldn't be going to counseling. I don't know if I could even look the person in the face ever again.
Comment number 21 by willfully_hopeful 1872 days ago. Wow, I'm at a complete loss for words. For me personally, there is no turning back from something like this. Ready or not, you as her husband deserve the right to know what her plans were, or any hesitation about the pregnancy. Yes, it's her ultimate choice, but she had no right to not include you. To lie and make you grieve the lose of a child, and act like she truly had a miscarriage, is beyond me. The emotional toll that would be, to then realize it was an abortion and you were lied to, I can't even fathom. Realize, if the friend didn't come and tell you, you would have never known. She would have continued this lie and acted as if everything was fine. This is a betrayal beyond fixing. If she can do something so heartless like this, she can do so much worse. Get out. Comment number 22 by Stoke Me a Clipper 1872 days ago. Her body, her choice, has absolutely nothing to do with a wife lying to her husband about a life-changing event you two had mutually decided upon. You/Redditors aren't here claiming women shouldn't have body autonomy, so anyone spouting off about that is not a person you need to waste time listening to. Bottom line, this issue is not time easy, but it is definitely simple in that the root of it is not complex. You two made a decision as a couple about a life-changing event, and one of you lied to the other about it in the most insidious ways. This was not a lie that was decided upon on the spur of the moment. This took time, careful planning, and repeated lies to sustain the original lie. This doesn't mean you immediately stop loving someone, so you're just going to have to decide if this is enough, or if it is not enough. I don't see how a relationship between two mentally healthy adults could survive past this.
Comment number 23 by Anxious Gamer Wife 1872 days ago. 18 weeks, and she got an abortion without you knowing? Do you know how hard it is to get an abortion? She would know the sex of the baby? No, something was wrong with the baby. You can't opt out at 18 weeks. That's too far gone. 12 weeks is the cutoff. In order to have a second trimester abortion, she would have needed multiple APPTS and doctor to sign off. Did you even ask to see any paperwork? Did she have a D and AMP-C and called it an abortion? I'm just not seeing how she up and got an abortion in less than 8 days at 18 weeks. Doesn't add up. Maybe she wasn't pregnant at all. Hysterical pregnancies or something like that, they are called.
Comment number 24 by iCocoBoonie, 1872 days ago. A married couple should be able to communicate and face problems together. She may feel sorry for lying to you, but I think she is more sorry she got caught. If you can't trust each other to communicate, compromise, and resolve as a couple in the future, then why stay? This won't be the last thing she hides from you. Yes, it's her body, her choice. However, she knew hiding it from you would hurt you, but she did it anyway.
Comment number 25 by 23 Sussex, 1872 days ago. I'm wondering where it is that schedules an 18-week abortion. I thought after 12 weeks you could only abort for medical reasons?
First reply on comment number 25 by the original poster. Some countries allow it, but 18 weeks is really pushing the upper limit. Unless, as someone else said, she wasn't as far along, say 14 weeks or something, and lied about the date of conception.
Reply number 2 to comment number 25 by Thina Sekaz, 1872 days ago. In the United States, every state can set its own line for prohibiting elective abortion. Many allow it for the entire pregnancy. No state has a ban before 20 weeks that has been allowed by the courts as far as I know. Edit to add, check to confirm, and yes, you can have an abortion performed anywhere at up to 20 weeks. https://www.org/default/files/922-3 JPG in the U.S.
Continuing the conversation by 23 Sussex, 1872 days ago. It doesn't specify if it's elective or not. When I was pregnant with my daughter, I had an unusual ultrasound, and docs didn't know if there was something wrong. They offered me an abortion at 20 weeks. It wasn't elective. I couldn't go in and say I changed my mind. Don't want to be a parent.
Comment number 26 by the 1/2/17/1872 days ago. I call bullshit on this story.
Comment number 27 by Coin's Third Side, 1872 days ago. Pure man. She lied. She killed the dream that was so close. Trust is everything. How can you be sure now that this never happens again? Anyway, wish you all the best. Maybe it's something to go through together and forgive the mistake in the end. The hardest part, for sure.
Comment number 28 by AFOH, 1872 days ago. Try to talk with her and understand her perspective more, then decide if you can accept it. For me, honestly, that would be the end, because even if she gets pregnant later in the future, then what's stopping her from miscarrying again? Sorry for you, man. Wish you all the best.
Reply number 1 to comment number 28 by Poison Alley, 1872 days ago. Or, maybe even worse, what if she actually does miscarry, and he can't believe her because of her past lie, undoubtedly leading to arguments and accusations in a time of great pain? I don't think I could salvage a relationship after this.
Someone responds to comment number 28 by Throwaway Dead Honest, 1872 days ago. Same, I could never trust her again.
Comment number 29 by the original poster. I think your wife needs to see a professional. What she did isn't of sound mind. Women don't intentionally get pregnant just to have an abortion, because they're not ready. Definitely something bigger going on. You need to dig deeper.
Comment number 30 by AUMNIVORE, 1872 days ago. If you have to ask, you already know. What could possibly be worse than lying about something like this? As for her crying and asking for forgiveness, that's the logical reaction of someone who's been caught out. You're at a juncture here. This is a life turning point.
Comment number 31 by the original poster. Compare this to the hot thread about the guy who showed up late to his wife delivering. Most are suggesting she leave him. I consider this much more severe.
Comment number 32 by Ineffable Husbands, 78, 1872 days ago. I suggest either therapy or divorce because Jesus Christ, WTF.
Comment number 33 by the original poster. Yeah, she was afraid that kid was going to look like her coworker.
Comment number 34 by Gornalani, 1872 days ago. Lying, conniving, and using miscarriage as the way out is a deal breaker. What sort of woman uses miscarriage to disguise abortion? The pain of a miscarriage never goes away. It's the baby that never was. She is a bitch, and I would never forgive her.
Comment number 35 by Tariq 90, 1872 days ago. Run Forest, Ruin.
Comment number 36 by Throwaway Dead Honest, 1872 days ago. My best advice is to seek therapy and have some work through this with you. I'm sorry you're going through this. It is such a huge betrayal. Being lied to in such a huge way is heartbreaking.